Hi, Kendra Ruth here from The Hero Spouse, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have Chad. Chad's bomb drop was February of 2022, so only about 6 weeks ago. Date of marriage is 2015. And when I did Facebook Live earlier this week, I think I misspoke. I mixed up Chad with Chris. It was Chad who said first he thought his wife was a vanisher, then maybe an off and on. And later he came back and said that she does text some, so he's maybe off and on, not really sure. So he also has a high energy replayer. But at this point, it's only been a few weeks, so all of that can be up in the air anyway. Here's what he says, and this is a long one. I need to condense it down, but I haven't done that because there's just a lot to hear. He wrote 3 different things in this. We experienced four major disasters in the last 2 years. Our house flooded 4 to 7 inches deep on the bottom level each time. Wow. The stress of this took its toll, and while we've never really fought or argued in our 7-year marriage, we had an argument over the house, and she left. The next morning she called to say, "I don't see a way forward with you." And since then, she's hit every mark for a midlife crisis. My question is, while counseling doesn't usually help with MLC, there has to be a significant layer of PTSD for both of us. I'm starting to see someone, but she won't, of course. But she, of course, won't. I'm afraid that when she looks back at our life, she will only see it through the lens of the last 2 years. Can't you remember the good times before everything went sideways? I'll add, during those 2 years, we still had a lot of good times and happy moments. But right now, she said there were just too many lows. I need to update and correct my question because she's not really a vanisher. We have occasional text and phone contact, and she's always happy. And right now, after only 6 weeks, she's not really any of those. She could even be a clean boomerang. We have to wait and see how it plans out over time. Okay. She seems happy, or she says she's always acting happy. It's what he has happy in quotes. I can tell it's not really real. But in text, if I said anything relationship related, she just ignores it and addresses whatever else I've said. Now, that's a good tactic. That's a tactic I might advise. Ignore these things and focus on these others. Don't give energy to those things. So it's not that she's doing anything rude or negative. She's trying to maintain her own control. I have videos and photos from her in the weeks before she left after an argument about the house. In them, it's super obvious she loved me deeply. When she left during the argument, she has apparently turned off any affection towards me. She hasn't filed yet, but when she moved out, I found she threw away marriage-related items. I don't think she's done. She just needs time. But since she lives over an hour away now, my fear is that once the house is sold, it's in progress now, that I won't hear from her anymore. Given that the flood was on January 1st of this year, which was less than 2 weeks before bomb drop, or just 2.5 weeks before bomb drop. Okay. That was the last straw, according to her. Do we have a chance? She since added a ton of stuff about me that was the real reason, of course. And again, she just called, telling me she's filing for divorce tomorrow. She said, "I know where you are, but I'm not there. I'm on a different path." It's only been a little over a month, and her departure was sudden, and even the week before, she was sending me unsolicited, loving video messages. I have some saved. I understand that she doesn't see anything there right now, but is there a chance she will? Since we have no kids between us and live an hour apart, will she forget me? Okay, so I'm going to address that piece first. At bomb drop, I was a young left behind spouse. I was 32 and a half. Chuck was 39 and a half, approaching 40. We had been together for 10 years and married for 7. Let's see. 6.5. We were going on 7. And we had no children. And that was my biggest fear. I didn't fear that he would forget me. But my concern was we don't have the kids as this bond between us where we have to continue to have contact. And that can increase some odds. I was wondering. I'm not saying it does or doesn't. She won't forget you. But will it be easier? There are things that are going to be easier to separate. Yeah. Finances are a lot easier to split them up, house here, that sort of thing. You don't have all the custody battles. So it doesn't have to be as high conflict. Let's go over some of the positives when you don't have kids. You don't have the emotions of, I have to do this to protect my kids. And what I have to do here is going to poke monster. I have to do things that they're going to consider more of an obstacle. I have to go to court and tell them things, and I have to get money from them because so-and-so has to pay custody, and so-and-so, this one is going to, or all things that anger the MLC or more. Now I'm really going to hate you, and can create more conflict. And then you have the emotions of the children in the background where you're, instead of focusing on your healing, you're taking care of the kids. And yeah, oftentimes the man that it's left behind spouse is the one taking care of the kids then. That your wife left, so if you had kids, they might be there with you. And you'd be trying to run your life. You'd be trying to heal. You'd be getting your kids off to counseling sessions. They would be acting out in school, acting out at home. And you'd also be getting more upset and more resentful of your MLCer because she's doing this to the kids, putting them through this. Can't they see this is damaging? And then they're defending, oh, kids are resilient. No, I don't see it. They're fine. And maybe the kids are trying to be fine around the MLCer because they don't want to hurt mom. They don't want to, take sides, all of these things. So there's the advantage when you don't have kids is you don't have to deal with all of the shrapnel byproduct out on the kids, which is a lot more than the bomb drop on you. It's so much worse. So if you can handle the brunt of it, that makes it so much better. I stood without children. Now, she's not going to see anything now. Right now, she's on a different path. I like how she said, I know where you are, but I'm not there. I'm on a different path. She didn't say it rudely, meanly. She didn't say it with demeaning. You want me and I don't love you. Why would you want some? She didn't do any of that. The words appeared just kind. I know who you are. She knows. And that was one of the things that I made sure Chuck knew. I'm going to communicate my stance to him. Not that I'm hanging on and clinging, but I approached it as, I do not believe in this. I do not believe it's what's best for us. And you're allowed to disagree with that. But my actions are going to be based on what I feel is best. What I feel is best in the sense of what is healthiest. So she won't forget you. Now you have contact. Work on increasing your contact without. Now, I don't want you to do it if you're feeling needy. But work on increasing your contact for neutral reasons if possible. Think of things where you can. Just if you can say something when she occasional texts. You said she's always sounding happy. Maybe just validate that. Say, it's so nice that you're sounding happy. The last 2 years were difficult. I have a feeling she might be open to just communications that aren't neutral, but aren't directly about your relationship. In the sense of, why aren't you coming home? I really want us to work on this. When I say relationship, what do we need to do together to get better? That's what I mean. But when you can talk about the emotions of, the past few years were really difficult. She has a fear. And PTSD probably, yeah. She has a fear of maybe some abandonment. She doesn't want to be needy. She is afraid of what's going to happen. And when the going gets tough, she gets going. My concern is that she needs to stabilize herself because this is indicative that she just leaves when things are difficult. They got too much for her. Because the things you described have nothing to do with the marriage. They are part of the context of the marriage. But they're not a reason for leaving a marriage. And she couldn't handle it. She couldn't handle the memories of it with you. She couldn't handle the trauma with you, the trauma triggers with you, because nothing about you, but maybe you trigger that trauma. Unfortunately, similar to couples who lose a child, they have an extremely high rate of divorce, I think even within the first year of losing the child. Some of it is because one handles it very covertly and one handles their grief very overtly. And the one who is covert with their grief hidden, it's not that they're masking it even, it's just that that is often how they handle grief. They handle it in the small recesses of their heart, and they don't go out spilling it on the streets. And the other one, well, he's getting along just fine. He doesn't even seem like he's over, like he's, all that bent up over it. And she must not have loved him, our son, that much, all this. So then they come to blaming each other and things like this. We're going to handle these things differently, and she's not handling the trauma. You're right. I still would like it if you had mentioned, hey, I'm in counseling. It's really great. It's helping me go over, rather than saying, you should do this. She's going to know you're saying that. But it's better if you just say, I'm feeling a lot better because I've been going to some counseling for what we went through. You don't need to point out anything about how it was obvious she loved you and all of these things. She knows that too. But PTSD, whether she might hit all of the MLC markers, but some of those markers might be PTSD markers. You work on the PTSD. She might have MLC markers as well. She might be very susceptible to MLC regardless, because she seems so susceptible to this PTSD. And you're going to either have to let her go from it and figure it out all on her own. But if she can leave after only because of the traumas that aren't related, and that's just multiple traumas. We know that traumas are an MLC trigger, but it feels more like everything is piled up on her. There are root issues, clearly, but it's so much piled up on her. She needs to deal with her ability to handle trauma. Not when I talk about midlife crisis, I see the shadow from boiling up from all of the repressions. Here, I see an inability to handle trauma, multiple traumas piled on. Now that can do with the other things, but what I want her to figure out is we need to get some resiliency. She's so afraid that she's going to be codependent, and so she left. She's so afraid of it continuing. She's so afraid of the triggering that's happening with you. Is there hope? Yeah, and I want you to maintain the connection with her in a sense of contact her. Just say, hi, I was thinking about you, checking up on you. Are you doing okay? That sort of thing. Be her friend and let her know. You said I'm not there. You know where I am and you're not there. That's fine. That's fine. Let's set that aside right now, okay? Because maybe we'll always be in different places. But the other thing that I am, and that we can both be in the same place, we can both be in the same place as friends. And this is a friendship that it has friendship ties, but it doesn't have to have romantic ties. And so I'm trying to use that no strings attached thing, but not use it. And so there's still a bond of friendship. In other words, friendship isn't a buddy thing where we just come and go in each other's lives and it's a convenience. It's not one of those friends with benefits things. It's friendship. That means that we have a trust for each other and we have a love for each other and a bond for each other, but it doesn't have to be the romantic kind. And if it builds to that again, then it's a mutual building, okay? But I care enough for you that I'm concerned about you. And we've gone through so much. And I'm concerned about how we both need to deal with this. So when you contact her, just show concern, but not about your relationship as a future romantic relationship and where's it going and why did this happen. I'm not sure I covered everything, so let me know if I did, and I will see everybody in the next question.